I'm John Jeffries. I'm Dean of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences at UMBC. This is really an exciting day, not just for the College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences. It's a wonderfully exciting day for UMBC and for the entire region. It's doubly exciting in a way because we get to break ground on phase 2 of this marvelous building and cut the ribbon for phase 1 of the building. And it is a terrific building that you see behind me. In phase 1, which has been built, we have the theater department moving in with new theater spaces, including a splendid new proscenium theater that will give our theater faculty and our theater students at last a venue appropriate to their talent and to their vision. As I think many of you know, our theater department has been invited to perform at the Kennedy Center Festival of American College Theater more times than any university in the country but one. And this splendid new facility will enable them all the better to educate and to train our graduates for moving on into employment. The English department is moving into phase 1, and this distinguished department will at last have spaces appropriate for the excellence of their faculty and the excellence of their programs. The Dresser Center for the Humanities, with a particularly prominent space overhanging us behind me, and as you see when you go inside, a space that can both celebrate and advance the humanities at UMBC. And we have spaces for our Linehan Artist Scholars and for our Humanities Scholars in the new building. In phase 2, which is building, you can see the cranes over there at work, and which will open 2 years from now. We'll celebrate new space for the departments of music and dance, including a wonderful new concert hall and dance cube, and the departments of philosophy and ancient studies. The Performing Arts and Humanities building is not just a lovely building, though it is that. It's also a highly functional building and an important building, with spaces for research, creative activities, performances, lectures, teaching, and learning. And a building purposely designed to foster interdisciplinary connections and collaborations among our departments. Finally, this new building makes a visible statement of the importance of the arts, humanities, and social sciences at UMBC, and expresses the fact that UMBC is a university with excellence across all of the disciplines. It's thus a truly wonderful and special building, and we have many people to thank for it. People who have advocated for, planned, helped to build the building for nearly a decade now. It's also an expensive building, and we would not have it without the investment of the people of the state of Maryland, the leadership of Governor O'Malley, and our state legislators who worked tirelessly in Annapolis to ensure the building received the support that it needed. The building is also, I must emphasize, a testament to the vision and perseverance of our president, Hrabowski, who will come back, as part of Freeman's efforts to support and emphasize the university's excellence in the arts, humanities, and social sciences. An extraordinary group of people has collaborated on this project. The design architects are the much and justly honored firm of William Rahn Associates of Boston, and Bill Rahn, Cliff Gailey, and Mark Oldham thought, planned, and collaborated with us on the project. As I said 2 years ago at the groundbreaking for phase 1, working with them, and also with Sue Haynes from Grimm & Parker, the architect of record, has in many ways been the most instructive and rewarding seminar I've been part of in my academic career. We also thank John Tissot of Theater Project Consultants, our acousticians, Kierkegaard Associates, our many friends at Whiting-Turner, in particular project managers Chuck and Collix and Patricia Carver. Chuck and Patty have also been with us from the beginning of the design, and they've not only brought the architectural plans to reality, on time, under budget, and they have been wonderfully accommodating to our university needs and requests. The capital project staff of our neighboring university campus, the University of Maryland, Baltimore, oversees the construction on our behalf. And I want to acknowledge especially the project manager on that, Mickey Miller, who has become, I must say, a really welcome fixture. A really welcome fixture on the campus. But the construction of this building has also, of course, involved many people on campus as well. As I noted, President Hrabowski has tirelessly championed the building. 3 provosts, Art Johnson, Elliot Hirschman, and now Philip Rouse, have supported our efforts. I must also thank for their essential contributions Vice Provost Tony Marrera, our Vice President for Administration and Finance, Lynn Schaefer, Wendy Salkind, the Chair of the Faculty Committee overseeing the project, Joe Rexing, our campus architect, and the many other faculty and staff, too numerous to mention, I fear, but vital to the process, who are now able to see their vision come to reality. And finally, I thank Tom Moore, the Director of Arts Management, who has also been deeply engaged in the process from the very beginning, and who, with Lisa Ockchen and others from the Office of Institutional Advancement, have planned today's festivities. 3 years ago, as construction of the building was on the horizon, not quite yet a reality, we asked ourselves the question, what words might best express the spirit and the essence of the arts and humanities at UMBC? An engaging, introspective, iterative, and productive process then followed on campus. And in the end, we arrived at Think, Create, Engage. And you've no doubt seen our new Think, Create, Engage Arts Humanities logo, part of which is before you now, part of which encircles the construction site, part of which is everywhere on campus. At UMBC, teaching and learning are joint and interactive efforts among teachers and students. And we learn from our students, who, after all, are the reason we're here today. And today we have invited 3 of our students to join us on stage to share their thoughts about Think, Create, and Engage. Mallory Ortega is a double major in theater and visual arts. Deborah Deary is an English major, and Peter Andes is a triple major in ancient studies, philosophy, and history. Each has selected a text, a piece of prose, a poem, an excerpt from a play that for them captures the essence of Think, Create, Engage.
This is an excerpt from Bob Kleiman's Exceptionals. So imagine someone just created an exceptional new rose. They're only available at a special place, and you can only take home a few at a time. But when you plant them, they transform your garden completely. There couldn't be a more possibly beautiful garden, you think. But soon you're back to get more, and then more, and then more. And each time your garden is much more beautiful. Everyone you know drops by to marvel. They ask if it's all right to take a few cuttings, and you say, of course! Of course you let them, because there can never be too much beauty in the world. Even the bees are smitten by these roses. They hover for hours and hours, longing for a chance to pollinate them. Sunlight seems to linger just a bit longer on them at the end of the day. And there doesn't seem to be any weeds now. It's as if they've receded to make way for the glorious profusion of fragrance, color, and beauty. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll be reading two poems. The first one is The First Step by the Greek poet Hrabowski, as translated by Edward Keeley and Philip Sherrard. And it's kind of a story, so you guys can kind of relax and just enjoy it with me, okay? The young poet Humanities complained one day to Theocritus, "I have been writing for 2 years now, and I've composed just one idyll. It's my only completed work. I see, sadly, that the ladder of poetry is tall, extremely tall, and from this first step I now stand on, I will never climb any higher." Theocritus replied, "Words like that are improper, blasphemous. Just to be on the first step should make you happy and proud. To have come this far is no small achievement. What you have done is a glorious thing. Even this first step is a long way above the ordinary world. To stand on this step, you must be in your own right a member of the city of ideas. And it is a hard, unusual thing to be enrolled as a citizen of that city. Its councils are full of legislators no charlatan can fool. To have come this far is no small achievement. What you have done already is a glorious thing." The second poem is by Dylan Thomas, and it's titled Notes on the Art of Poetry. "I could never have dreamt that there were such goings-on in the world between the covers of books. Such sandstorms and ice blasts of words. Such staggering peace. Such enormous laughter. Such and so many blinding bright lights, splashing all over the pages in a million bits and pieces, all of which were words, 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 and each of which were alive forever in its own delight and glory and oddity and light." Thank you.
I will be reading an excerpt from an essay entitled The Humanities Value by Jeffrey Galt Harpham, the President and Director of the National Humanities Center. Why should society support the humanities when so many people are suffering from the effects of the economic crisis? What claim do the humanities, or scholarship generally, have on increasingly limited resources? Shouldn't such pursuits be considered luxuries at a time when we should be focusing on essentials? I hear those questions all the time, in part because I ask them myself. When I bothered to answer myself, I said that of course we should focus on the essentials. The alleviation of human suffering, the restoration of opportunity, and the resurrection of confidence must be our top priorities. But the present crisis must not be the horizon of our thinking. Our most immediate concerns cannot be our only concerns. While we are struggling through the morass of the present, we must retain both our memory, which sustains us, and our imagination, which must light the way forward. Memory and imagination place us in the general domain of the humanities, and that leads to my main argument. The humanities are, if not the top priority right now, at least one of the areas that must be recognized as crucial and supported accordingly. The present crisis does not eclipse the humanities, but rather reveals the need for the skills, dispositions, and resources that the humanities, and only the humanities, cultivate. Our models failed not because they were imprecise, but because they were too precise. Too neat and crisp to take in the imaginative and social nature of value. Nor did they take in the fully human character of the behavior of lenders, borrowers, analysts, shareholders, or traders, all of whom were driven by largely unconscious and partially irrational beliefs, including the simple desire for social approval, even as they were persuaded of their own powers of analysis and of the underlying rationality or efficiency of the market. It all seems so obvious in retrospect that retrospection itself can be dismissed as a worthless activity. The real gift is to see things in advance, the things that will, in retrospect, prove to have been obvious. Where is that apparently rare gift cultivated, developed, rewarded? How does society foster that valuable trait? Well, consider this. When we read a novel, watch a play or a film, listen to a concerto, or read a historical narrative, We're not just attending to the moment, but forming expectations about what will come next. Surprise ending surprise, only because they do not conform to our expectations. Comparing our anticipation with the actual unfurling of the work, or the sequence of arguments, is part of the distinctive pleasure we take in such activities, and that pleasure keeps us returning for more. Such anticipatory or projected retrospection always involves speculation or guesswork, for every piece is unique. But being able to engage in such anticipation is an essential part of general intelligence. And developing that ability is one of the primary goals of the humanities. I would suggest that the reason that our models and modelers failed to predict the current economic crisis was that they did not engage in what I call projective retrospection, nor did they try to anticipate the diffuse effects of non-quantifiable shifting collective beliefs. They were, I presume, simply trying to be as rational as possible in plotting their moves. Their imaginations were constrained by their assumption that the economy was a kind of game with arcane rules rather than a human activity embedded in the general human scene. So why support the humanities? The answer is not just that the humanities deserve no less than Citigroup, AIG, or General Motors. In fact, the humanities do not need a huge bailout, only predictable support. But that the humanities elicit and exercise ways of thinking that help us navigate the world we live in. For my money, that's about as essential as it gets. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mallory, Deborah, Peter. Another round of applause for them, please. This ceremony here marks only the beginning of today's celebration of our new Performing Arts and Humanities building. First, we're joined by many leaders of the Greater Baltimore Cultural Alliance, several of whom will participate in the new space presentation to begin immediately after this outdoor ceremony. The Greater Baltimore Cultural Alliance, or GBCA, nurtures and promotes a vibrant, diverse, and sustainable arts and cultural community to be embraced by all as accessible, relevant, indeed essential to the region's quality of life. The GBCA connects artists and groups to one another, brokers relationships inside and outside the arts and cultural sector, leads in addressing strategic issues facing the cultural community, advocates for the continued visibility and financial strength of the sector. The new space presentation will feature many leaders from the Greater Baltimore cultural community, including Fred Lazarus, President of the American Institute College of Art, MICA, Vincent Lancisi, Artistic Director of Everyman Theater, David Mitchell, Assistant Artistic Director of the Arena Players, Doreen Bolger, Director of the Baltimore Museum of Art, George Sissel, MICA, and founder of the Contemporary Museum, Sharina Christmas Rose, Executive Director of Muse 360, Kalima Young, Director of the Baltimore Art and Justice Project, Marvin Pinkert, Executive Director, Jewish Museum of Maryland, Kevin Griffin Moreno, class of 1995 at UMBC, founder and host, potluck storytelling and senior program officer of the Baltimore Community Foundation, and Bashi Rose, co-founder of the Nomo Theater. The presentation will be moderated by Tom Hall of WYPR and the music director of the Baltimore Choral Arts Society. We extend our deep thanks also to Leslie Shepard, former principal of the Baltimore School of the Arts, for inspiring our plans for this event, indeed, for the use of this building. Also, immediately following the ceremony, we'll have an outdoor festival until 6:30 on the building grounds, including performances by alumni, students, and faculty, including the Lafayette Gilchrist Ensemble, Umbilicus, a group directed by UMBC's Tom Goldstein, the Mama's Boys, Greetings from Bartleby, the a cappella group Tall Capella, the Down and Dirty Dog Band, and the Baltimore School for the Arts Chorus. Third, and this evening, we celebrate the inaugural Humanities Forum lecture in the Proscenium Theater with Pauline Yu, the Executive Director of the American Council of Learned Societies, who will speak on the humanities without apologies. Dr. Yu's talk at 7 o'clock will be followed by a dessert reception in the lobby of the building. But we also invite all of you to self-guided tours of the building from 4:30 to 6:30 this afternoon. In conjunction with participation of Tom Hall of WYPR, we also thank WYPR for joining us as the 2012-13 UMBC Arts and Humanities Season official media sponsor all year long. As you tune to 88.1, you'll be hearing the words, the arts and humanities at UMBC, think, create, engage. It's now my great pleasure to introduce Jeannie Howe, who became the executive director of the Greater Baltimore Cultural Alliance in 2011. With over 20 years in leadership positions with nonprofit organizations, Jeannie has served as president of the Everyman Theater Board of Directors and as consultant led the capital campaign that has raised nearly $17 million for the theater company's move downtown. It's been our pleasure to collaborate with Jeannie these past several months to develop the New Space program, and we look forward to a long and productive partnership with her at GBCA. Jeannie?
He's a little taller than I am. Thank you so much. Thank you. First, just on a personal note, I wasn't going to do this part, but I just have to say that my history with UMBC is quite lengthy. When my husband and I were living in Texas and dreaming of coming back to the East Coast and to Maryland in particular, it was a job at UMBC that brought us back. My husband has been working since 1989 in the theater department here. So we've seen quite a bit of change and growth from the years before Freeman came on board to now in this fabulous building. So I have a special place in my heart for UMBC, and particularly the theater program. Okay, so I was going to come and talk about how Dr. Hrabowski and UMBC have done this amazing job. First, creating a program that successfully engages a diverse student body in STEM programming, and how the Baltimore community at large, specifically the Meyerhoffs, has rallied behind this vision to make it happen. From there, I thought I would laud UMBC's commitment to going from STEM to STEAM, or STEAM, get it? Science, humanities, engineering, and arts and math. The truth is that it is amazing. Thank you. The truth is that it is amazing that a university in these financial and political times, and thank you for your piece, I think it segued really beautifully into what we've been thinking about the importance of the humanities and the arts in culture right now. But that a university in these financial and political times would throw itself so fully into a mission that acknowledges the importance of arts and humanities to successful students and a successful society is, unfortunately, extraordinary. So I was going to say all of these things, but then the Middle East blew up again. And I found myself thinking a lot about freedom of expression and civil societies. I found myself thinking about how the Academy, in particular UMBC, is a bastion of the openness and exploration that are so challenged in the world today. Without getting into politics, but acknowledging that all arts and humanities have a political context. We're living in a time that undervalues the kind of critical thinking and challenging of the dominant paradigm that is necessary for the evolution of our species. See, it isn't just about science, but also about the way we see ourselves in the universe. And by the way, ourselves is not singular. These days, there's far too much thinking about individuality at the expense of civilization and civility. Today, as the Executive Director of the Greater Baltimore Cultural Alliance, I am so proud of our partnership with UMBC. The opening of the Performing Arts and Humanities building is symbolic of the symbiotic relationship, like that science reference there, that we'd like to see between institutions and the artists in the surrounding community, between students and the community, between artists working both in and outside of the academy, between teachers and students and children. At the risk of sounding hyperbolic, UMBC represents hope for ways in which we can strengthen the human experience, artistic inquiry, academic excellence, and create a better, richer, more successful community. This we can do in partnership. GBCA is here to represent the arts and culture community and to embrace our working partnership. We also embrace the ways in which science and technology are intertwined with cultural pursuit. Interestingly, a recent study funded by the National Endowment for the Arts and the Brookings Institute is titled Arts and Crafts Participation Correlates with Entrepreneurial Innovation Among Scientists and Engineers. Well, we knew this, right? We knew this. And now it's being demonstrated in actual research. Cities and communities are strengthened by the investment of the creative sector and enriched by their work. Poets, painters, musicians, philosophers are part of a new age in which they join hands with our friends and colleagues in science, math, engineering, and technology. GBCA, as a membership organization for arts and culture in Baltimore and its 5 surrounding counties, is excited to have the opportunity to partner with UMBC today, and we look forward to that partnership together in the future and are very honored to be here with you today. Thank you.
It's now my honor and pleasure to introduce our president, Hrabowski, who by virtue of his remarkable achievements, contributions, honors, truly needs no introduction. Freeman.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you very much. Very much. Can you hear me in the back? You okay? Good, good. And tell those people behind you to shut up, all right? So we don't have to hear her. Academically speaking. Thank you. Yeah. I am delighted to welcome everybody today. First of all, you don't know this, but John Jeffries has been on this campus as of next year for 4 decades as professor. It's amazing. A chair, a dean, really. An unbelievable scholar, a Harvard and Yale man who gave his life to the people, to just wonderful Americans. He's retiring next year. Give him one more big round of applause. He's been incredible. Just an incredible force on this campus. Really incredible. One inspires itself. It says a lot when people have known somebody for 4 decades and they still like him. So this is really, believe me, it says a lot. Thank you, Jeannie. You were wonderful. You really were, and we're so pleased that we are partnering together. When you talked about coming here and a job at UMBC, it reminded me, and I want our county executive to hear this, that and all of the elected officials, the fact is that universities do bring brain power and citizens and taxpayers to the area, and I want you to think about the significance of this facility as we attract the best and the brightest from all over the country and beyond. You know, this is a very special day. My students did a really fine job. Give them a hand, would you please? I want to take a minute and talk about elected officials, and then I'll talk about the arts and humanities. Few people understand how difficult it is to be an elected official in America today. This is fact. Everybody sees one positive side, one negative side, or whatever, but it's so much easier to attack somebody who's in a leadership position elected than it is to see what difference do they make. And I want us and my students and my colleagues to let all of the elected officials, I'm going to introduce them, but to let them know we appreciate, they didn't have to give us this building. It's a big deal. You all give them a standing ovation. Would you please? I think one standing ovation is at least a small part trying to compensate for the abuse you may take from a lot of places all the time, quite frankly. But here, let me just say that you're going to be hearing from 2 very special people, and I'll mention them in just a minute. This is Senator Casemeyer and our own alumni, Speaker Pro Tem Adrian Jones. Give those 2 people a round because they did so much to help us out. They really did. They really did. They're right here, and they have been amazing. Just amazing, and we're so proud of them. Let me go through my list. It's very important that I go through this list. And I'm going to start with my good friend, State Senator Ulysses Curry. Would you stand, please? Senator Curry, would you stand? State Senator Alan Kittleman, our own graduate. Very proud, very proud. State Senator Rich Madaleno, who's wonderful to us, he really is. And then our delegates, our neighbors, as we would say, this is Delegate Malone. Jimmy Malone is here. Where is he? And then Delegate DeBoy, would you please stand, Steve? And then you heard me mention him before. Kevin Kamenetz is somebody who's come to understand the spirit of UMBC. He's an amazing county executive, a well-educated man himself. Would you give Kevin Kamenetz a hand, please? And Baltimore County Councilman Tom Quirk. And County Councilman Ken Oliver. Again, welcome to all of you. And representing Senator Cardin is Jerome Stevens, and representing Congressman Ruppersberg is Jennifer Reeves. If you all would stand, give them a hand also. You know, it makes sense, and I want my students to hear me saying this. When people are supportive of you, it's so important to take the time and say thank you to them, to let them know you appreciate what they've done. There are several people I want to mention. Darielle is here. Darielle Linehan here, she and Earl have been amazing. I had a chance to talk with them about the arts at UMBC. Leslie would appreciate this, that the whole time they were talking about the School for the Arts, I kept talking about UMBC. We kept eating mementos on the back of the bus in Israel. And I kept begging them to come to campus, and they finally came. And amazingly, they endowed the Linehan Artist Scholars Program, an incredible program. Dario, would you please stand? We're so proud of you. Please. Amazing. Someone, and I think what was so wonderful is that endowing that she is a pianist herself and loves books, a literature person, and we are so proud of both of you. And then I had the privilege yesterday of being in Harford County at John Carroll High School. And I couldn't help but think about a family that's one of America's very best. And I told the story to the kids and others of a man and a woman who had been with me. I'd been on their farm up in Harford County, and the gentleman said, what do you really want, Freeman? After I'd been talking around, he knew I wanted some money, right? And he thought I might ask for a couple $100,000, and I kind of swallowed, and I said, we'd really like you to give $1 million. And he laughed at me. I'll never forget this. And I looked at him and I said, is it that funny? And he said, Virginia, you remember this. He said, I just wish my mother was alive to hear you ask me that, because if you knew how poor I was and how poor we were when I was a kid, I just would want my mama to see that somebody thought I was rich enough to give him $1 million. Well, he brought the whole family, and I want them to stand, but I want you all to see Virginia, who's sitting in that wheelchair. She's the most wonderful matriarch I know. The Drescher family, would all of you please stand? We're so proud of you. Virginia, so very nice. Wonderful. What you really will appreciate is that they could have given the money to anything, and what they said was that they really understood the significance of the humanities in the lives. And so we have the Drescher Humanities Program now because of that family. One more hand for the humanities and the Dressers, please. And then Marianne Mears is somewhere here, and she is our artist. We call her for the whole state. Is she here? Marianne Mears, give her a hand. She's wonderful. Give her a hand for what she does. And finally, Catherine Freeland and Nettie Johnson, members of our Board of Visitors, businesswomen who bring a lot of money to UMBC. Stand wherever you are, and thank you for bringing all that money to UMBC. We're in the audience somewhere. Thank you. I had the privilege of being on a radio program the other day, and over at our sister institution at Morgan, and with Mark Steiner, and we were talking about a lot of things, and finally we got to talk about the arts and humanities, because he knew it's fine to talk about science and engineering, but I wanted to talk about the significance of the arts, humanities, and social sciences at UMBC, because they are at the heart of who we are as an institution. Anyone who appreciates the value of an education knows that we must teach all of us to appreciate what the humanities can do for each individual. You know, in the 30s, it's very interesting that everybody was shocked when the president, then FDR, Mr. Roosevelt, decided to invest in supporting artists. People were saying, well, people need jobs. What are you talking about? Why are you just giving money to artists? Why do we need the arts when we're in the middle of a depression? Well, it was Mrs. Roosevelt who really appreciated the fact and who could say to people, now more than ever, we need to understand what makes us human. Now more than ever, we need the arts and humanities to elevate our soul, because part of that elevation is in connecting to other people and relationships. You know, and I said that on this radio program, and amazingly, I got outside and one of the students said, what did you mean when you say the humanities can, and the arts and humanities can elevate our soul? And we stood there and talked about it. And what came to me was this, that I want my students and my colleagues to understand how important it is for us to think about what that really means, the language we use that can be understood by somebody whether they're in college or not. It has everything to do with understanding that as the world becomes more technological, there are some very fundamental characteristics of human beings that make us uniquely human. The ability to care about other people, the ability to connect and feel for other people. You know, I can tell you, I had a conversation with two engineers, both of them over 80 years old, both of them who'd grown up in Baltimore, and I'm sitting there at lunch, and all of a sudden they both remembered the same teacher from middle school. And it was a teacher in humanities who had made a difference in their lives, and they had been probably 6 or 7 years apart. One of those people was Bob Meyerhoff, and I was amazed to hear him talk about this years, like decades later. And the other was somebody who was a hero to us all, and I was so surprised and so pleased that he's here today. He is an amazing person. Will Hackerman, would you please stand? Will Hackerman, please stand. What makes him so special, as he talks about his employees, as he talks about universities, is that he understands that students need to appreciate the value of that broad education, and he says it in so many ways. And so, as I close, I want all of us to think about how we take what we learn and have learned in the arts and humanities and social sciences into the world. How do we think about poor children? You know, I was so afraid one night that my wife was going to hear me dreaming, and because when I dream, I sometimes speak, I talk, right? And I just knew she was going to say, who is that woman called Arts and Humanities? I just could see her saying it, so I kept trying not to say it because I was so worried about whether or not the governor, who just got here, and the others were going to be able to approve this budget for us. And amazingly, so thank God I didn't say it aloud, but I kept thinking about this other wife of mine, it seems, Arts and Humanities, because it was so important to this campus to have this facility to reflect the significance of these disciplines to the campus, but also the very soul. When you look across, you see the library. If you want to know who UMBC is, I would say two things. From the point of view of facilities, it's our library, which I call it the vertex of the right angle, and it's this building on the hill. From the 3rd or 4th floor, you can see downtown Baltimore here. And it's significant to say that because we believe that as our students become better grounded in the arts and humanities and social sciences, they will be inspired to go into the world and to make such a difference. You know, when the governor and the legislature approved this facility, they were saying they believe in us. I'll never forget talking to Senator Casemeyer and to Delegate Jones and hearing them asking good questions, trying to make sure it was going to be a good investment. And I will tell you this, that the concern they showed was a wonderful statement. And finally, that woman you see right there sitting in black and gold, there's a reason she's in black and gold. It really is because I would say she bleeds black and gold for the state and for the university. But for this woman who was a little colored girl in a school right across there, who didn't have somebody to dance with her at the main dance because she was the only little kid in her room, in her class, who was black. To have that little girl who had to have the teacher dance with her to make her not feel so unspecial. To have her come to UMBC and be grounded in the arts and humanities and social sciences and become a powerful, humble, compassionate humanistic leader, and the Speaker Pro Tem says everything about why this building is important. Ladies and gentlemen, my dear friend and our alumna, the Speaker Pro Tem, Delegate Adrian Jones. And with that great dramatic statement, I was just as wrong as I could be. The arts and humanities teach you that too. When you're wrong, just say it, all right? Because we're going to start with that wonderful colleague, and more important than that, the man who had made this happen, Senator Ed Case by also. Thank you.
What about chopped liver or something? Yeah, I always felt bad for people who had to follow Freeman, and obviously, and now, not only am I that, but I'm stuck between he and the featured speaker, and who you all want to hear from. But anyway, I know Freeman was named one of the most 100 important people in the world, but you really got to give him credit. After the day we had yesterday, to have a day like this, it's pretty powerful stuff. But anyway, I'll be quick. I just want to thank all the people really involved, as these comments have already been made by others, but I want to thank President Hrabowski in terms of pushing this building along. It wasn't scheduled to be done and now it's here, but it was supposed to be much later. But he had a great deal of fortitude and forced us, and Dr. Jeffries pushed it along, and obviously we have to give a great deal of credit to our governor, who probably was mainly responsible, obviously, for getting this building on the schedule that it got. And we want to thank the faculty. We want to thank the faculty and the students. No question about it. Thanks for all your support. You know, I'm an arts and letters kind of guy myself too, and it's nice to see that a school like UMBC, which is known for the STEM program, have this building, because it's needed by everybody, no matter what your major is. You need that balance in life, which a building like this is going to supply. And also for those who are interested in the arts, artists, writers, actors, we'll have a facility to hone their skills. I want to say that Delegate Malone and D-Boy and I are very proud to represent this district, but I want you to know that every member of the state legislature, practically every member, nobody, not all, is very, very proud and committed to higher education in the state of Maryland. And that's one thing, although we can be criticized for a lot, I believe. If you look at the record throughout the United States, you'll see that Maryland is doing an exceptional job supporting our institutes of higher education. And lastly, I will now have the pleasure to introduce somebody who isn't a mystery, but the person who probably had the most to do in terms of a legislator with this facility coming about. A graduate, an alumni from 1976, a woman who just does a wonderful job in Annapolis as not only the Speaker Pro Tem, but Chair of the Capital Budget Committee. It's my pleasure to introduce Delegate Adrian Jones.
Good afternoon. It's a beautiful afternoon. But not only do we have a state-of-the-arts building, we have a state-of-the-arts tent, if you want to call this as well. Today is a special day. We're about to do a ribbon cutting and a groundbreaking for Phase 1 and Phase 2 of the Performing and Humanities building. A certified LEED building, I may add, when it gets all completed. And yes, as was stated by Dr. Jeffers, a building that was completed for Phase 1 on time and under budget. That's music to our ears. I also want to thank the project manager for making sure that happened. Many thanks, and yes, many thanks to Governor O'Malley and my colleagues that you see on the stage today. Those in particular are the ones who kept asking from both sides, both the Senate and the House, about this project. They had a genuine interest and knew the importance of this facility. Yes, there is a need, and I started off by saying, yes, this day is special to me. It's special to me because it's personal. It's personal because you see, 40 years ago, I was 17, just got 1964 red Rambler. My dad got paid for 50 bucks. And I used that car to drive from Cowdensville, and I think Malone and DuBois and Quirk and Casemar and our county executive cabinet knows where Cowdensville is. Those who don't know, it's part of Arbutus, historical black community in Arbutus. Drove that car coming here, quiet little girl from Cowdensville and Arbutus. And I'm looking back on those years and thinking about how this, at that time, was called University of Maryland, Baltimore County. You said all the words, not just UMBC. How that, at that time, small commuter school has grown and evolved, and under the leadership of President Hrabowski, became the national leader, and not only national, international leader in terms of higher ed and in both engineering and technology, IT, and now with this addition in this new building, also in the performing arts and humanity, which would bring this full fold in terms of this building. Now, it's not too bad for this 17-year-old to do 40 years later and be here. So that's why I say it's personal to me. You're providing, this facility provides a quality setting, environment for programs that were once held, and those of us who are alumni have to think about that 44-year-old theater, that 39-year-old Fine Arts Humanities building. And when I came in the legislature in the late 1990s, the late Pete Rawlings, we had a site visit to this campus. And during that time, there was talk about improving the building, having a performing arts building. And during that time, and we heard it, I believe if you were in the Fine Arts building, I think you flushed the toilet, you could hear it in the theater. So we have thoroughly know we need this building here. So the work that went into making these capital projects, both phase 1 and phase 2, a reality is something which I am immensely proud of for our entire state. And there is no better showcase for the hard work of all Marylanders than this new Performing Arts and Humanities building. The values that all of us share and use to make this building a reality, namely, working together to better the community, keeping education in Maryland the best in the country, and understanding the real societal value of the arts and humanities are the same values that I know are going to be taught in this new building. They're the same values that define Maryland today, and I'm confident they're the same values that UMBC students will carry into tomorrow. It is now my pleasure to introduce a man who can quite legitimately lay claim to being the nation's education governor. He has made education the cornerstone of his administration, investing in what he has described as Maryland's intellectual infrastructure. This is a vision that has had a tremendous impact across the entire P-20 spectrum. Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to introduce the National Education Association's Governor of the Year for 2010, and one of the best friends for higher education, Governor Martin O'Malley.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow. Hey, thank you very, very much. What a beautiful day Freeman Hrabowski arranged for us today. This is a wonderful day. It's great to be with all of you. Whatever good we, as your public servants, and there are many public servants on this platform, have been able to accomplish in these difficult years is really a reflection of your goodness and your foresight, your vision, and your understanding that the investments that we make in education are investments that we make in the economic opportunities and the economic potential of this great state of Maryland that has achieved, not been given, but has achieved the highest median income of any state in the nation. And to those to whom much is given, much is expected. And in these times when there is so much doubt in our country about whether or not our best days are in front of us, this place, UMBC, University of Maryland, Baltimore County, answers very affirmatively that yes, in fact, our best days are in front of us. I want to thank all of the members of the General Assembly who have cast many, many tough and unpopular votes because they understand that in the long run, the people of our state understand why we are doing what we are doing. Delegate Adrian Jones, thank you so much for your great work on the Capitol Committee. There are very, very few states that have made the sort of investments that our state has in these times, and you rightly deserve a lot of credit for that. And Senator Casemeyer, thank you very much for your leadership of budget and tax. Senator Curry, Senator Kittleman, Senator Madaleno, Delegate DeBoy, Delegate Malone. You're never alone with Jimmy Malone. Let me see if there's anybody else that votes on our budget here that I want to thank. And of course, Kevin Kamenetz, you must be very, very proud of this great institution in your county. Dr. Hrabowski, thank you for your leadership and your vision here at UMBC. Once again, U.S. News and World Report's #1 up-and-coming national university. There are so many people here who have contributed so much to make this day possible and this institution possible. Willard Hackerman, the Dreschers, and so many others. But you know, Freeman and Jackie have actually contributed not only their talents and their life's work to this university, but also have contributed in a monetary way very, very generously to this university. And for that, Freeman, and your tremendous leadership talents that you have chosen to invest here, all of us salute and thank you. This is usually the point in the program where the venerable former United States Senator Paul Sarbanes would say that everything that needs to be said has been said, but not everybody that needs to say it has said it. So to the students and the faculty here, thank you. This really is your day. This is the day your creativity, your innovation, your commitment are what make UMBC a national leader in education, research, and discovery. Thank you for everything that you do, not only to make this school great, but to make our state great. We often talk about the importance of STEM education, and I can recall Freeman in your office shortly before being escorted to the roof to see the skyline of the greatest city in America. This was I don't know how many years ago. What is 6 + 7? 13 years ago when I was first elected to serve as mayor. Freeman said, remember this, STEM. He said, if you just keep saying STEM, everybody will realize that you get it when it comes to what we need to do in education. Science, technology, engineering, math. You hear it all the time when the president gives his State of the Union address. It really is the next horizon. It's what we need to do and what we need to capture and harness as a people. But there's another part of STEM that's very much connected to our ability to create a new world, to figure out new ways to feed and fuel and heal this ever more finite planet of ours. And that is that left brain activity of the arts. When we choose to harness the creative potential of the arts, and when we choose to combine that with the disciplines of science, technology, engineering, and math, that is the great reconnecting that we need to do as a people in order to make a new world. When a student painter divides the space on a canvas, or a music student learns meter and rhythm, it's all connected to the work that we must do with complex equations and math classes, computer skills. Daniel Pink once described it as the awakening of a new awareness of the connection between the right side of our brain and the left side. That right side of our brains, creativity and imagination and conceptual thinking, with the other half of our brain and the math and the computing and the memorization, they both go together. So much of the progress that we're trying to achieve together for our state is about that connectedness and our ability to do that. Our ability in Maryland to pull from highly skilled, highly educated people with diverse perspectives is really what is really our number one asset. The biggest competitive advantage we have is our workforce, the talents, the skills, the creative capacity of our people. That is an investment that cannot be offshored or sent someplace else. It is something that is indigenous, that is here. And we are investing in UMBC, in fact, increasing our funding 31% over these last 5 years when many other states are slipping backwards. Maryland is moving forward. We have invested... That total is $552 million for those of you on the Budget and Tax Committee that are counting along with us. $114 million for this building. And why do we choose to make that investment? We choose to make that investment because this is a place where we harness the potential of every individual in our state. In our state, there is no such thing as a spare American. We're all in this together, and each of us is very much needed. The Irish poet John O'Donoghue wrote about, quote, the incredible power in a community of people who are together because they care and are motivated by the ideals of compassion and creativity. So thank you, UMBC, for being together, for harnessing that compassion, for harnessing that creativity, and in so doing, proclaiming to the rest of your neighbors in our state and in our nation and in our world that, in fact, our best days are in front of us. Thanks very much.
Very much. It's exciting to hear our leader talking about the arts and humanities, and whether it's STEAM or we put the H in there also, as Jenny said, we figured out this acronym. The fact is that if we can keep thinking about the broad range of disciplines and how we are focusing on interdisciplinarity, you know, we stand on the shoulders of giants in so many ways, and we have such wonderful faculty and staff here. I want to recognize somebody who's retired, just as an example of excellence in the humanities. She's going to be surprised. Would Daphne Harrison stand? Professor Emeritus. Stand up, Daphne. What about Professor? Stand up. Really, for decades and decades. For decades and decades. It's just important to do that. And just thank you for everything. Thank you, Daphne. Our beloved Dave. Give her a hand. It's great. It was wonderful. And so Governor and Delegate Jones and Senator Casemire, we thank all of you. And now it's a very exciting time because this is a little different. We are talking about both a groundbreaking and a ribbon cutting at the same time. And the reason is when the budget was approved, we moved immediately. Lynn Schaefer and everybody else involved, quite frankly, to break ground. Let's get started. So we can come in under budget and impress the legislature, so maybe they'll give us another building one day. Give me a hand for that, all right? We have no shame, Governor. And so now I'm going to ask just a few people to go down with me for this one, for this ribbon cutting. The governor and Provost Hrabowski and Jeffries, if you'll go with me down. And then I'm asking also this phase 2 for this groundbreaking, first of all. The new capital budget year started, and this new building will house our music department, our dance department, philosophy, ancient studies, and I want those chairs to come with me with the members of the construction project team to join the governor and the 2 or 3 people I mentioned. And we'll do that first, then we'll come back and do the next phase. But right now, before the ribbon cutting, let's do the groundbreaking right here, all right? And Mr. Hackman, you come up here too, please. Will, do you want to? Come on up here, please. Let's do that. Someone who worked on this campus years ago, and she's still a very, very young professional. Senator Danette Howell, Secretary Danette Howell is here. Danette, where are you, Secretary Howell of the Higher Education? Give her a hand, would you please? We're so proud of her. We claim you.
Perfect. I was so glad to hear about that. Thank you.
Okay, I want everybody to say, repeat after me. Think.
Think.
Okay, we're going to do it again. I want you to mean it this time. Think.
Think.
Create.
Create.
Engage.
Engage.
Remember that quote, because we're going to use it again with the ribbon cutting. Just remember that, all right? Okay.
That's the action shot.
That we should go on YouTube. Thank you. Take these up. Come back up stage that way. Got more people to join, yes. The departments, yes, yes. Yes. Dr. Berman from English, yeah. Good, good. Come on, you're in dance.
In front of the governor, or just stand in the back?
Jessica, come here. I'm not going to tell it to you. Tell me. I can follow instructions. That's my wife. She can tell almost finished, folks. Almost finished. So I'm now asking Dean Jeffries to come forth for some closing remarks.
Thank you all very much. Just a few housekeeping announcements. But I do thank you, we all thank you, for being part of this splendid ceremony this afternoon. In back of me, in front of the building, is a ceremonial beam that Whiting Turner has provided. There, I understand, Sharpies there, and if you have time, you can go inscribe your name on the ceremonial beam. We now invite those with tickets to the New Space event to join us in the Proscenium Theater immediately after we end here. And we have, for those who will join us in the theater, a special treat. Governor O'Malley will be the first performer on our new stage. An event you will not want to miss, and those who have not yet picked up your tickets can pick up the tickets at the door. We also invite everyone to remain and enjoy the outdoor festival until 6:30, and the building tours will go on from 4:30 to 6:30, followed, as I said earlier, by the inaugural Humanities Forum lecture by Pauline Yu at 7 o'clock, again in the Proscenium Theater. Thank you very much for joining us on this splendid occasion.